Hello, team. So when you're thinking about your Canvas course, something that's really important to keep in mind is how do you want the students to interact with your course? What do you want them to see? Now, the best rule of thumb is really to just keep them targeted in, funnel them into a very consistent area where they know exactly where they need to go. And they don't necessarily have to go out to all these different places. Keeping them on the same platform is best practice for learning. Lots of studies have borne this out in terms of student learning. Now, something to consider when you look at what the student sees, that's the best way to see it. So if I click on Student View up here in the right-hand corner of my course, I can see what they see, okay? And so you'll notice here right now as it's set, home, announcements, modules, grades, so forth, all right? Now, what I want to make sure is that the things that the kids see are actually the things that I want them to see. If there's something here that I'm not actually using or intend them to interact with my content in my class, then I need to remove that, right? So in many cases, let me just leave Student View here. You might have things that are available to you that you don't necessarily want the kids to access the content in that way. So as a school policy, we drive kids through having one, a home page, and two, we drive the content through the modules, all right? The modules is the way that we drive kids to the content, okay? Now there's lots of reasons for this, but that would mean what we don't want is for assignments or quizzes or pages necessarily to be visible, maybe even discussions, unless you have discussions that are beyond assignments that are long-lasting, kind of enduring, maybe student-led discussion boards. Maybe that would make some sense. All right, so you want to consider what the kids see or don't see. Now, to control that, you want to go to the settings, and under here, right, so I'm looking at my course settings, and up here at the top, you can see the nav bar. All right, so what you want to get is the navigation, right? So here, everything above the line here is what students, what is published and visible. Now, there are a couple things, it's kind of tricky, that kids will not see. They won't see item banks. They won't see new analytics. Those two, even though they're above the line, those aren't for kids. Student accounts don't see them, okay? So new analytics and item banks are for us, all right? But everything else above the line here is for them, all right? Now, if I want to change that, say I don't want kids to be able to see people, right? Then I would drag that down there, all right? Or say I don't want them to even be bothered with, announcements. If I'm not using announcements, drag it down, right? Whatever it is, okay? So you want to clean that up because you probably want the least amount of buttons up here on the nav bar as possible unless you're actively using it intentionally. Make sure you hit that save button at the bottom. All right, and that will readjust your course navigation bar to be optimized for your course and for your workflow with your students. I hope this helped, and happy building.